Back to the Sydney Football Stadium. It's knockout day for Canberra and Brisbane. One of them drops out this afternoon. Peter and Paul have set it all up for you, together with Steve and Jean. They're on the sidelines for us today. They've come in all shapes and sizes, and thousands of them are here. Seeing the exit of one of the great sides, and the other, of course, to carry on to the final, and then hopefully to the grand final. Of course, this was the match that most people believed would be the grand final. And that probably followed their clash down at Bruce Stadium in round 19. They attracted a magnificent crowd that evening. Canberra were far too good that night. There were excuses. And it was about then that people started to say it will be a Canberra-Brisbane grand final. That's impossible. One of them has to go. There is no tomorrow in this competition for one of them today.
And Ray, this is probably the perfect example of where defence is going to win semi-final football. We've got the two best attacking sides out there when they are in form. We haven't seen that from the Raiders for a little while now. We're going to see a lot of ball movement. They have to attack out there. They must score points to stay alive in this competition. So really the side that can stop points is going to prevail after 80 minutes.
Well, Peter, if you remember last week, the Raiders' first half, they didn't want to use the football. They wanted to put those kicks in behind. I think today we'll see them really fight up. I think they'll be attacking right from the very start. They've got to use the likes of, Mullins and Hoppy out wide and Ajuku. They never got any pill last week.
No, they were okay, the tactics, kicking for the first 5 or 6 minutes just to make sure the defence wasn't getting up too quickly, but they didn't have success with it, and I doubt whether we'll see that in their opening game plan today.
So there's a shot of the Sydney Football Stadium, the headquarters of rugby league these days. Minor grades today, Canterbury defeated Manly in reserve grade 28-18 after Manly led with about 8 minutes to go. President's Cup, an easy win for Cronulla over St George, 46 points to 6. 9-4 quoted about Brisbane to win the grand final, 7-1 about Canberra. Mal Meninga takes the green machine out. Is it for their last occasion this year? He himself is playing with injury. No Ricky Stewart. The medalist, the dual medalist, is not there. Laurie Daly really laid it on the line to his teammates during the week. So we've got to forget about Ricky Stewart. Some of us are making an excuse about our defeats because there's no Ricky. There's the number 7, Steve Stone. Langer now, composed, knows what's got to be done. They've been to the SFS on 12 occasions, the Broncos. They've won 9 and lost 3. 75% success ratio. Lazarus is there. More importantly, this fellow is there. The teams, let's have a look at them. Here's the Raiders. Belgian, Andruku, Meninga, Mullins, Hoppy, Daly, Stone. Osborne, Walters, Lomax the front. Clyde and Pongi are behind them, and Croker locks it. Tim Sheens is the coach. The Broncos, let's have a look at them now. This is the team. No Renouf in this lineup today, and no Terry Madison. Neil Hancock, Khan John Saylor, Walters Langer, Lazarus, Kerrod Walters, Hone, Gilmeister Can, and Peter Ryan is the new number 13. Shot of Glenn Lazarus. He really is under a question mark here today. Bill Harrigan's got the whistle for the sudden death. The sudden deather for this weekend. This is the sort of football that people really love. And so the start of it now. The Raiders take it back. Remember at Bruce Stadium, on purpose they drove their attack towards 2 players, Kevin Walters and Steve Reynolds. So Kevin Walters will probably feel the brunt of their attack in the early part, although his defence in the early part last week was outstanding. Meninga, Clyde, that's his second handle on this set of 6.
And no coincidence we've seen Mal Meninga handled twice as well. He's got to get involved, Big Mal coming in from the centre position. And that's a great start from Canberra. They've gone 40 metres. The kick, no pressure on Stone. As he gets one away, O'Neill will catch it on the full.
Breeze is always hard to judge here. Probably Canberra's got the better of it in the first half. We'll check with the sideline in just a moment. 12-10 the Broncos won in round 1. I told you in round 2 at Bruce, it was Canberra 20-4. That was the controversial match. Disallowed try for Brisbane early. A sin bin on Mattison, I think it was, and an intercept by Meninga. Let's forget that, though, and get on with this, because this is present tense. Alan Can. Halfway line, just in front of him. Centre of the ground. Langer. Nandruku comes back. Wendell Sailor comes down the ground, but it's a penalty against him. He must have been in front of the kicker.
Be an interesting replay there. Selfie Langer not looking for a lot of distance into the breeze. He just floated one behind the back, and a good decision by the referee. They were offside, the boys. The Brisbane back line never gave Canberra 10 metres.
It was an excellent decision, and in fact, you could see that Bill Harrigan was pointing and talking to the players who were offside for Brisbane, and Sailor paid no attention and got involved as Osborne takes it 47, 48 metres out. Started off well, the Raiders. That's what they needed to do.
Lomax. Beautiful day in Sydney. Welcome to our telecast around Australia, wherever you might be watching. Steve Roach and Gene Miles not quite basking in the sunshine, but Steve, that breeze in the first half.
Yes, it's not favouring anyone at the moment. It's blowing directly across the ground, and interesting to see Bradley Clyde playing without the strapping on that right knee. He must have a lot more confidence. He's been involved early in this game.
Daly on a run around, then the little kick weighted in behind O'Neill. Oh, pressure. Beautiful play by the Raiders.
And it's a great kick there, because what happens if you put a runaround on a kick? It brings the defence up. You see, Daly goes around. The defence must come to him. That makes it harder for them to turn around. He found open spaces. A difficult ball for O'Neill. Good chase from Mullins. And it was a fairly close thing here. He did very well, the fullback.
Stewart just watching on alongside Tim Sheens. Oh, this is a fairly shallow restart from the Broncos. The Raiders come up with great field position. 28 out, centre of the ground, no markers. Lazarus was slow getting to his feet. Face ball. Pongia. Pulled down by Chris Johns, working as the right centre. Walters. Stone. Daly. Dragged down by Can. Walters goes himself, cuts out Stone, finds the big fella, brushes off one, gets it away. The lock forward goes for the line, held up.
Held up, and the Brisbane defence is really struggling out there. Canberra taking the right options. They're running to the line. Beautiful play by Stevie Walters. Mel brushed one off, then the overhead pass when he drew Hancock, and the Brisbane defence has done well to hold off Croker.
They did a great job there, Michael Hancock, and that's what Ray Warren pointed. They've got one here, Canberra. Croker out in the centres, and he's lost the ball. Unbelievable first tackle, all the pressure off.
This was the Jason Croker turning it over. I thought it was another replay of the disallowed try for Croker. All Canberra in the opening exchanges. Can.
I'm just making a point earlier, Ray. You pointed out that Kevin Walters would be targeted in defence. So too Alan Langer. It was Langer that Mal Meninga was able to push off. It's very difficult for him to bring the big man down, and Meninga nearly able to set up the opening try through that movement.
Play by Home.
Ray, I'm just looking at Glenn Lazarus. He's called Kelvin Giles out on the field. I think he's no good. He hasn't taken the ball up yet and hasn't made a tackle, and I've got my doubts as to whether he'll continue in the match.
Well, if that's the case, it'll be a sensation in the early exchanges. Paul thinks that Glenn Lazarus might be leaving the field. Hoppy. There will be a change in the Brisbane side. Clyde. Andrew G comes to the sideline. Glenn Lazarus will come off. And I guess that will be the end of the day for Glenn Lazarus.
Well, they had to give him a go, didn't they? He might have thought, as the penalty now has gone, hello, it's gone to Brisbane. For an infringement in the play, the ball here has ruled that the ball, as Lazarus comes off, the ball wasn't played properly, but he had to give himself a chance to play. He's only lasted 5, but nothing doing for Glenn Lazarus today.
Would he have had a needle, Paul?
The club policy in the Broncos is that no needles are allowed for painkillers before they play. So he wouldn't have had one, no.
Well, here's a chance for them now. No Glenn Lazarus. A barometer, if we could find one, on the confidence level of Canberra would show them now at a new high, because one of their chief opponents is gone. Lazarus gone in the 7th minute of the game. Mark Hone goes back into the middle of the ruck, looking for a division of the markers. Walters, Langer, he's dangerous here. Walters. Now they put it together, another Walters. Lomax wraps him up and puts him away, 9 metres out. Right in the centre. Langer turns it inside. That's Ryan. Wearing the number 13 today. It's normally 27. Langer! It came off a Canberra player, but it's play on for Daly.
Gee, I thought he had numbers to the wide there on the left as Steve Stone makes a good run tackle by Khan, but he had big numbers to the left. Alan Langer decided to kick. A lot of traffic there, and Daly picked up the dregs. You talk about confidence for Canberra. Well, here's a penalty for them, and the fact that they held Brisbane out for that first set of 6 inside their 20-metre area must do wonders for them.
What's the news on Lazarus, Blocker?
Yeah, I know that it is Brisbane's club policy not to allow their players to have needles, but they're leaving that up to Glenn Lazarus right up to the last minute. He decided not to have one. His leg was no good, so he's come off.
Are we convinced that he's off for the day?
I don't think he'll be coming back.
Play by Lomax. Osborne hits it up. 45 out from his own line now. Steve Walters, the 3 brothers in this one today. Hoppy. Clyde. Slowly but surely, they've brought the champion lock forward back into the game. Today, he might really explode. Good ball promotion. Meninga right across for Mullins to flick inside for Hoppy. He plays it 40 out, belches the dummy half. Stone drops it onto the right foot and grubbers it. Hancock, who had a great game last weekend, brings it back. Look at that defence by the Waivers. 3 O'Neill. Again, Croker leading the way. He's the first man there. Jason Croker's pushing them out of the road to let him go first. Andrew G. Penalty. Hand in the play the ball, says Harry.
And last week, the Canberra forwards, I thought, were pretty ordinary. Lomax is the man there, just a little touch, preventing the Brisbane player from playing the ball. I thought the Canberra forwards are a bit ordinary. They're fired up today. They're going very, very well. Lomax and Bradley Clyde, he looks like he's just about back to his best form.
Getting plenty of support too. I know they're 2 teams from out of town, but with less distance to travel, there's a lot of Raider support here, and every time that they do something positive, the crowd's certainly rising.
This start by Canberra is reminiscent of their start last weekend, and all of a sudden the wheels fell off. Gilmeister almost lost his wheels right there. Big hit by Lomax. Langer away. Kevin Walters holds it back. Runs to the defence line. Khan. Pulled down by Mullins. He found some chinks in his armour last weekend. Brett did well there. Kevin Walters looks inside. Turns it out. Wrestled down. And the number 11 jumper again is Gilmeister. 25 metres out, I should say, as Langer waits it back into Sean Hoppy's wing. Kevin Walters, first man up.
Very good wing play there from Sean Hoppy. He was on the far side of the ruck. Sometimes you can get a little bit lazy out there, not expecting the ball to come back. The cross kick from Langer was well read by Hoppy. Really no pressure there. As Paul Osborne takes it out that side the 20-metre line. Strong defence there again. Andrew G involved.
Pongy up. Two New Zealanders, Pongia and Lomax. I think They've performed beyond expectations for their club. Charge down. Kerrod Walder's got a terrible bounce. Belcher cleans up for Canberra.
Well, it's desperately unlucky there for Kerrod Walters. If he catches that on the full, maybe the sun was in his eyes because he didn't really get underneath it, and then he got the unlucky bounce. Great work for the enthusiasm to get the charge down in the first place, and there it was. He couldn't get his Canberra fire up there. Out wide, Osborne goes through a big hole.
40 metres out from the line. Daly is the dummy half. Taking it ahead is Lomax. There's another 10 metres. Now Pongia, taken by Langer. 28 out from the line now. Walters away. Stone. Dummy to Clyde. Pushed on for Belcher. Still 22 metres out. Brisbane back in the line. They've numbered up. Clyde tries to drag a few of the Broncos over to the right. This will be setting up the push to the left. This is it. Stone away for Daly. Again, the weighted kick, and Wendell Saylor read it beautifully.
Yeah, not the kick that Laurie Daly was looking for. He wanted to get it in behind the back line. They'd come up fairly shallow, and Wendell Saylor had a pretty easy job there, taken by his opposite winger, Nandruku. The kicking game from either side, I don't think has been that good. Good charge down by Walters earlier. If he'd have caught that on the full, it was try time. Here's a chance.
Ryan pushing it out wide for Willie Kahn. Mullins' defence has been good today. Hancock does some dancing. This is the last. Langer got a terrible pass. Charge down on the Kevin Walters kick. Nandruku was coming quickly, but it's gone over the sideline. 0-0, 13 minutes gone. This was the charge down off Canberra, so it's Brisbane's loose head and feet. A real test now for the Broncos. No Madison, no Renouf, no Lazarus. We know about the depth in the club. We've spoken about it often. And this is when you call on a little bit of a scuffle there. It's push and shove.
And a far touch touch. He sprinted in there.
Well, he must have binoculars.
Fair dinkum. Andrew G, the man.
Well, this is really a nothing incident. You see a little bit of jostling on the far side. John Lomax and Andrew G.
Well, he's kidding that touch touch. He should fair dinkum turn it up and running in for that. There's nothing doing there. And he couldn't wait to get in there.
Well,
15 minutes of the match gone.
Sorry, Ray, there's going to be a penalty, and it looks like going Canberra's way.
And keep in mind, if it goes to Canberra, the strike has gone to Brisbane. Canberra would have been able to kick for goal because a penalty in the scrum for foul play entitles you to shoot for goal. It went the other way, and G takes the play 39 metres from the Canberra line. Kerrod Walters. Gilmeister got himself offside. This is Cam. Wrapped up by Daly, who needed some assistance in the final washout. Kerrod Walters. That's Ryan. Kerrod Walters deciding to go from dummy half. Langer. Kevin Walters. Chris Johns across the ground. Julian O'Neill. I thought for a moment he was away. Pongia made the tackle. Gilmeister passes. Kevin Walters sets it up for the kick. Gets it over the top. Belcher goes back and cleans it up. Heavy stuff on Belcher too.
Yeah, I reckon they're taking some wrong options with their kicks. Not positive enough, I don't think, in these kicks. There, I thought Kevin Walters, he had men outside. He could have put up the high ball for them. Took the option of the grubber, and Gary Belcher, who's having a fine game, had it covered easy.
Talking of Belcher, this is him. to comment on the game this far into it. Just hang on before we go to the sideline. Short passing away for Meninga. A handoff back for Big Osborne. 5 metres into Brisbane territory. This is the last. Long pass for Stone. Even longer for Daly. And again, he punches it down into the corner. Brett Mullins is coming very fast. Hancock with it. Mullins makes the tackle. Take a comment on the game at this stage from Gene Myers.
All right, this is where Brisbane will miss Glenn Lazarus. There's no substitute for hard work, and this is where he really comes into his own. So it's time for the Brisbane forwards now to roll their sleeves up and share this workload around. And he won't be coming back on the field, Glenn Lazarus. That's him for the day.
And Gino, how match fit would Andrew G be?
I mean, he's had quite a few games. He started a couple late in the season, so you know he'll interchange Andrew with. I'm pretty sure Gavin Allen will be introduced in the game also.
He has done a great job out there in defence, Brett Mullins, as Langer. Again, not a great kick there. Easy pick up there for Gary Belcher. He's had to make a couple of tough decisions as Mullins, and he's made the right one. There's probably no harder task one-on-one Michael Hancock with a bit of space to move, but it was a very effective tackle.
And they call Noah. Playing it near the halfway line. Lomax now. Wendell Saylor is lining Noah Nandruku today. And so far, there's nothing in it. The young Brisbane replacement has matched it. Stride for stride. Now they push it quickly. There's a chance here. Away goes Hancock. Oh, he's home. Stone is chasing. 10 out of 10 for chasing. But Hancock swooped on the opportunity. And the Broncos get the first try.
And Canberra, through their own mistake. The problem here for Canberra, they decided to throw the football, but they were too flat. Look at their line. They're going to make a break being that flat. No one coming onto the ball there. Gary Belcher. A little pass here that went astray. Mel Meninga, I think it's Mel, out there, and Mick Hancock, the man, scooped it up. And too easy for Mick, looking around. Good chase by Stone, it might have saved them 2 points.
Well, the problem there for Canberra was that they'd actually created an overlap, but Michael Hancock, who rushed up quickly, realising there was some danger, came up with the bouncing ball. Good work from his inside man in defence. I think it might have been Chris Johns. He saw that there was a potential there for a break for Canberra and forced the mistake. And that will demoralise his Canberra side. It was interesting listening to Ricky Stewart before this game saying that they put all the pressure on last week and didn't come up with points. There's a little shake of the head there. Exactly the same thing has happened this week, and they're trailing on the scoreboard after being, well, I think probably on top for this first 19 minutes.
Running repairs there for Peter Ryan.
He's done well too on the early exchanges, hasn't he? It's only about his second or third run on for the season, but he's been in there amongst the best of them.
The big improvement, we were critical early on, Paul, that he'd come up looking for the big shot all the time, but he's tempered that down. He's much more selective when to put that big shot in.
Goal kicking duties with Julian O'Neill now. He's got a 70% success ratio. 19 metres out, and that ratio hasn't left him, not thus far. The Broncos 6, the Raiders nothing, 19 gone. Welcome back to the Sydney Football Stadium. And Brisbane leading Canberra 6 points to 0. A quarter of the game is gone. This is tackle number 4 following the restart of play. Langer! Langer! In one side, out the other. Kicks for Ryan. Ryan! He gets the ball down. This will be a try for Peter Ryan.
would Alan Langer get between two of the biggest men on the field in Mal Meninga. I'm not sure whether it was Lomax or Pongia. There's the tap on the head for Langer. That was just freakish. Have a look at this. He goes to the line, nothing doing, straight between them. And then the little kick over the top. What about the support, the selective kick back inside? Steve Stein must be sick and tired of chasing to try and stop tries.
Sensation work by Alfie. He's exploded here at the stadium, taking Brisbane with a 10-0 lead. Look at this. Mal put the arm out.
Well, Pongia was the other man that didn't come up with the tackle.
I'll tell you what, this Peter Ryan, once he did very, very well, because what he did, he actually slowed down to stay on side when he saw Alfie was going to kick. So full marks to Ryan, having a very good game.
Second try of the year for Peter Ryan. He's the man with the number 13 on his back today in place of Terry Madison. Undoubtedly he would have been, I guess, having some restless nights in the week leading up to this one. He can relax now just for a couple of seconds while Julian O'Neill takes this conversion attempt. He's got away to a great start, Peter Ryan, and so too are the Broncos now. O'Neill, close proximity, and he doesn't make mistakes. 12-0, 22 minutes gone. The Broncos, the premiers, they're in front. That was Langer bursting through Meninga and Pongia.
Obviously a breakdown of communication there. You know, Alfie's a tricky little player, and those players out wide have got to talk to each other and call his name out. Maybe neither of them did. Steve Roach, how'd you see it?
Yeah, Paul, what it was is Mal didn't come up in defence, and I think you can put that down to Steve Stone. He's the last chaser there all the time. He's playing in the second line, and it just puts the pressure on the blokes in the front line of defence.
But the bottom line is the big play against Alan Langer is just when he's got the football, somebody's got to talk about him and get him. You don't overread the play.
That's it too, Clint. You've got to go to blokes like Alan Langer. We know that he can step off both feet. He's got a chip. He's got plenty of options. You've got to make him make the decision.
Gino, I was about to say that I thought the intensity had gone out of this Canberra side. Is that the way it looks down there? They're just not coming up as quickly, and there's another miss.
Hold the phone! They're on their way again! Walters, away for Sailor! Nandruku on Sailor! Sailor! He goes in to score!
Well, they're gone, the Raiders. It's all over. 25 minutes into the match, and Brisbane are running riot. The defence is gone. They're sticking arms out, not even some of their attempts at tackles are nothing short of disgraceful. Look at this through Kevy. He's called touch. Kevy didn't hear it, so away he goes. This is a sensational pass right out in front of Wendell Sailor, and then one-on-one Sailor on Nandruku. Away he goes.
Well, Canberra have opted to play Jason Croker out wide in the centres, and he's just come up with a clean miss there, got fresh air. Kevin Walters, a selective pass. The try should have been stopped there. Nandruku, if he'd have driven in low, I think comes up with the tackle. Wendell Sailor, he's having a good time, isn't he? Played well last week, and he'll be happy with that effort.
Third try of the year for Wendell Sailor. Wayne Bennett, he'll be happy. Tim Sheens in contrast. So it started, this avalanche, 5 minutes ago. 3 tries in 5 minutes. Just when, I guess if you asked 10 people, how do you think the game's going, they probably would have said, well, the Raiders are going fine. There's nothing in it. 5 minutes down the track, Brisbane have put 3 tries on them. I think Canberra had gone for afternoon tea. 2 from 2 for this young Bronco. 22 out from the sideline. Oh, have a look at it. Have a look at it. Canberra shudder. Brisbane leading 18-0. 25 gone. Welcome back to the same football game. If you want to get something out of the fridge and you've been gone for about 7 minutes, it's the same game. Canberra absolutely devastated. 3 tries against them in about 5 minutes. Meninga, Nandruku, well, everything Noah Nandruku has tried to do, Wendell Saylor has been all over him like a rash. Now Stone, short ball for Croker. He tries to muscle his way through. 12 out, they come back blindside. Steve Walters through to Osborne. Osborne throws it over the shoulder. Might have been touched by Brisbane. Referee Harrigan said no. 5 tackles gone. Walters wide ball. Stone with it. Daly now. Outside is Clyde. That's a dummy. And then Meninga for Mullins. Mullins' pass goes over the sideline in a 2-on-1 situation.
Isn't that basic football gone wrong? Simple draw and pass situation. The Raiders throwing it out. Good decoy there. Daly onto Mal. Good hands to Mullins. Look at this. All Hoppy had to do was catch it, but he couldn't have caught that. Inspector Gadget wouldn't have got that one.
He also passed a bit early, I think, Mullins. Gilmeister. 18-0. Just under 13 minutes of time remaining in the first half. Now, Gene, you were having a chat with Peter. I think it was about the start of try number 1. Maybe it was 2. Here's Langer again. Every time we go to Gene's, the Brisbane Broncos turn it together. Just hang on, Gene. We'll come back to you after full time. O'Neill's kick was touched in flight, taken by Lomax. Seriously, though, what were you trying to make the point on?
Oh, it's just the signs are there, Ray, that when Alan Langer and Kevin Walters start running to the line with the ball in 2 hands, it just shows the defensive line into so many minds that they don't know whether they're going to chip, they're going to step, or they're going to run. So it's really up to Canberra now to take a few chances. They've really got to score the next set of points.
I think they're exhibiting that, Gene, while you're talking. Hoppy tackled, 7 metres short of halfway.
Yeah, they can't get silly about taking chances, but like forcing the ball. We've still got 50 minutes to go in this football game, and if one side is capable of scoring points, it is this Canberra team. I think that they've got to look for their strength, which is going to the back line. We saw a try nearly created there. There's a long time to go in this game, and they do have the strike power.
Steve Walters starting to run more himself now. He realises the urgency of the situation. Through Daly, it's with Belcher in the back line. Rubbing kick, and Nandruku's coming very fast. O'Neill. Cool as a cucumber, this young bloke. I think he's only about 22.
I know you make your own luck in these games, Paul, but like that kick again illustrates the bounce not favouring Canberra. There's been 2 occasions Mark Hone and Trevor Gilmeister have gone up juggling the football, and somehow miraculously they've managed to hold on to the ball. And those kind of things, you know, I know it's great skill and talent on their behalf. As Bradley Clyde leaves the field, things just seem to be going well for the Broncos.
Everything's going the Broncos' way, having a lot of luck. Canberra, they couldn't buy any luck. $1 million at the moment. Bradley Clyde's only in the blood bin. Dave Furner's gone on for him.
Mark Hone. Just on their own side of the halfway, as you saw by that wide shot. Can! He's burst through! 25 to go! Tried to put a step on Belcher. So contemptuous was the run of Alan Can. He loves to score tries here. Makes a habit of it. That was audacious, though. He tried to put a step on Belcher. Langer pushes it out. Now Chris Johns stumbles his way towards the line and provides O'Neill with another try. 22 points to 0. The Broncos are stampeding here at the stadium.
This could be 100. Fair dinkum.
Well, it's missed tackles, isn't it? On the far side, David Furner's first attempted tackle was very innocuous. Look at that one, just straight through. He did a good job here, Alan Cairn. He got up quickly, tried to continue the play, and then from the very next ruck, Jason Croker, who missed a tackle early on for a try, has fallen off a tackle here on Chris Johns. There's the tackle there. And then just, he did well there. Mal, I thought, probably should have stayed out, and that left O'Neill a big hole to run into.
Well, I mean, we'd like to say that it's all Brisbane and because of the way they're playing that they're winning this match, but simple missed tackles by Canberra is the reason. 14 missed tackles so far in the first 30 minutes of the match. That's the reason Brisbane are 20-odd in front.
And Paul, in defence in the back line, your main objective is to stay outside your man. And on, I think, 3 occasions now, the Canberra player has been beaten by the Brisbane man on the outside. They've got to stand wider.
Ironical, and that's all it is. It was almost to the second when Canberra started their toboggan ride last weekend. About 18 minutes into the game, they started tremendously last weekend. They started well today, and then all of a sudden, bingo, they're on a toboggan and going down the other side of the hill. And very fast too.
Well, as we pointed out at the beginning of the program, they've had over 60 points scored against them in the last 2 outings. It's now over the 80 mark in semi-final football. That's just where you've got to be very strong.
Has he missed a kick yet, this boy?
It's a big 3 out of 3.
O'Neill, 83 for the year. Doing the job for Terry Madison. Well, he's not going to miss, I don't think. No, he's got his mind made up. He's going to leave here with a 100% record today. Brisbane 24, Canberra 0, and we're still counting. This is how they went there. John stumbled his way, then O'Neill said mine, and in they go.
Well, Croker never gave himself a chance to get Johns there. He was too far away. A diving tackle, he had to try and get in closer than that.
There's still some work to be done there too. I thought Mel made the wrong choice going in. He was always covered, Chris Johns, on the inside, and ended up leaving O'Neill with a fairly easy run. Ray, talking about the players that have gone off, Glenn Lazarus and the likes of Trevor Gilmeister. Big charge, comes up with a mistake. They ran into Steve Renoff in the tunnel before this game, and he was very, very confident that if the side got through to grand final day, he would be there.
There's Lazarus back on the bench. He only lasted a matter of 6 minutes before he retired from the game. He was replaced immediately by Andrew G. Now, Pongia was on the end of the Gilmeister run. They clashed heads. Pardon me. They clashed heads, and Pongia has opened up. This is what happened. Gilmeister...
Well, he only knows one way, and that's hard and straight and a million miles an hour. Just the glance there is Canberra on the attack, but now a penalty to the Raiders, much needed one, and looks like a quick tap being taken by Daly.
7 minutes gone as Daly feeds it through to Belcher. Mullins, 15 out from the line.
That's Wesley in 42 coming on as a replacement for the blood bin.
Wesley playing it there. 6 metres out from the line. David Ferner in jumper 40. A mountain of problems in front of Canberra. Stone stretches it. Daly is with it. Outside him, Jason Croker. Meninga went in, but Croker goes to ground. Held by Chris Johns. Meninga's pass for Lomax. He got a good quick play the ball, John Lomax. And that's why he's only 2 metres out from the line on 5.
Got numbers to the right.
It's a long ball for Stone. Daly into the play. Ferner gave him a decoy. Belcher away for Mullins. They must score. Mullins has put it behind him. Hancock tries to turn defence into attack.
What about that one? It's a dead set. He's cost them 12 points with those passes. They were shockers.
I don't know about 12. They were difficult conversions, but you know, they set it up perfectly again, and just that final pass, I don't know whether Hoppy's not deep enough or whether the pass just is being thrown at the wrong time in the wrong area, but you cannot squander opportunities like that.
It's a shame too. He's a fine player, Brett Mullins, a real good player. He's having one of those days.
Langer. Oh, good tackle. David Ferner. He's only just been ordered into the battle, David, and he got Langer with a great tackle. Belcher carries the ball back, Steve Roach.
Yeah, Canberra have made the opportunities on that right-hand side a couple of times, but it's just you've got to look at the bloke you're passing to. Mullins isn't even looking at his winger.
Daly goes to the right. Mullins was outside him. He flops it down for Ferner, but Brisbane come up with it through Ryan.
Yeah, Mullins outside and Laurie pulled Basil out and just brushed him.
Well, it's going to be a Canberra feed here, I think you'll find. Saying that it was, well, here we'll see it front on there. There's Daly trying to push the pass out the back. Saying that Alan Cairn committed the knock on. So reprieve for Canberra, under 5 minutes, 4.5 to go. They need to score off this set of 6.
Here they come then. Daly has shown it twice to players angling back in as decoys. David Furner. Oh, beautiful pass! Nandruku!
And the quality of the pass here from David Furner, who had to cover a lot of ground to get there. Caught out the Brisbane defence. I think you'll find a Brisbane player went in. There's Furner coming from the far side. Let's just have a look. He frees it there. Now you'll see Furner's trying to get on the outside. Wendell Saylor is the man who comes in. His play continues on. Saylor now coming in. Well, in fact, he was only put. He really didn't come in to commit a tackle. He was back on the balls of his feet. And just the speed of Nandruku got on the outside. Excellent work from Furner to get there.
Yeah, nice work by Furner. He's had a good season. And when Clyde came back, he was relegated to the bench. And Nandruku found himself into open spaces. In good position, Nandruku. And so Canberra, a little light at the end of the tunnel. A little one, 24-4. And Furner will attempt the penalty.
Well, having David Furner on the field, of course, gives them their #1 goal kicker in the game now. Success rate of 63% as opposed to Mel Meninga's 29% coming into the game. Furner has hooked it, no goal. 24-4. Brisbane over Canberra. 4 tries to 1. The Broncos. 37 minutes gone.
And the Broncos they'll be disappointed with this because, you know, 24-0 at half-time would have been great. There was enough players there. They had 3 actually opposing the 2 Canberra players, but the defence messed up, and that's what can happen in rugby league.
And the footwork of Furner was very good, wasn't it? It looked as though, I think that Saylor thought that he might have actually been able to beat the tackle of Gilmeister, and that had him in 2 minds on as whether to come in or whether to try and hang back. He got caught in no man's land, and the speed of Nandruku, once he got the ball, was going to be a try.
Wesley carries the ball back for the Greens out to his own 20-metre line. I guess the question has been asked in Canberra's support circles whether or not David Furner should be in the run-on side in front of maybe a Quentin Pongia. He came on last week, David Furner, and he inspired them with a couple of beautiful passes. I suppose that's after the event, but I'd be surprised if that hasn't been one of the discussion points in Canberra during the week. Stone dropping it onto the foot, and it spirals across off that torpedo-like kick. 15 out from the line, but we're only 1.5 minutes out from half-time.
He's gone all right too, Steve Stone. I mean, he's no Ricky Stewart. No one is. You know, the Rothmans medal winner, Dally M medal winner, Ricky Stewart. Sensational year for him.
The player's player.
Exactly. But Steve Stone's doing his job. You know, he's hunting around. He's getting his players organised, and his kicking game has been okay.
Big crowd here today again. Probably 31. About the same as last Saturday. It might be just a touch better than that. Penalty against Canberra. They got inside the 5 from the scrum. Langer goes up, takes a quick tap. They've got their line ready to go. Willie Kahn tries to brush through, but he's put down 9 metres away from the halfway line. Peter Ryan scored a try. One of the 4 try scorers is Peter Ryan. Gilmeister.
Quite Willie Kahn, Ray, hasn't he? He hasn't actually called him that much, but maybe the ball hasn't gone his way. He might be set to explode in the second half as Cairn tries to get through.
That could be another ominous warning, Paul. They've run to a 24-4 lead and they haven't used Willie Kahn yet. It's like playing cricket against the Poms and you haven't used Shane Warne. And you got him 9 down. Play by Ryan. Langer. Now he just varies it up. Oh, look at this kick by Langer. Sean Hoppy's got problems. did well. Siren sounding in the background. And so the coaches will get hold of their charges now. Brisbane 24, Canberra 4. Hancock, Ryan, Saylor and O'Neill, the try scorers for Brisbane. Julian O'Neill scoring off the boot, 4 out of 4. Noah Nandruku scored the try for Canberra. David Furner was unsuccessful with his only shot at goal. Half a game gone. Belcher having a serious talk there with Brett Mullins, and I think they're talking about 2 tries that could have been there for Canberra had Mullins taken a look at his winger. That's like last week's pay, it's gone. 24-4, Brisbane leading. They file from the ground, a sullen Canberra. I would imagine a very buoyant Brisbane. Back to the Sydney Football Stadium we come now. And this is the elimination semi-final. Canberra versus Brisbane. It got away to a pretty good start for Canberra. And then all of a sudden they faltered and Brisbane laid 3 tries on them in 5 minutes. And now the score 24-4 in favour of Brisbane. And they're the stats, Peter Sterling.
It's interesting to see, Ray, that the number of times with the football for both teams is fairly similar, 18 against 16, but you can see the percentage, a vast favour there for the Broncos, so that they must be controlling the football far better. The big problems for Canberra, of course, have been those missed tackles. A mammoth 20 against only 7 for the Brisbane side. And you'll see there the line breaks. Canberra have made 2 line breaks, which should have led to tries. They've only got 1 late in the first half. Line breaks for Brisbane 5. They've managed to put on 4 tries. They really have taken advantage of the opportunities when they present themselves.
Canberra now coming back. And what Tim Sheens would say to them at half-time, your guess is as good as mine. He wouldn't be the coach that I would imagine go over the top. It wouldn't be a verbal tirade, but he certainly would exhibit, I'm sure, the fact that he wasn't happy. 24-4 down. Going around Australia today, many of you taking the telecast live as the Broncos come out. They've only got to keep their heads on and play percentage football, and they will win the football game. So you people in Brisbane, undoubtedly you're happy. Right throughout Queensland, over in Perth and Adelaide, and all those people taking us. And B-Sky B, they would be with us today for this semi-final as well. What's the story from the Broncos room, Gene?
Well, obviously very happy, Ray. A lot of concern shown on the left-hand side of defence, where fortunately for Brisbane, that Mullins has come up with a couple of mistakes, but extremely happy with no mistakes. It took them 25 minutes to come up with their first error, and that was goes a long way to the scoreboard score there. And also he's very happy, but he seems to think that Canberra's season will come down to the next 10 minutes, and they'll toss everything at Brisbane here, so it's very important for them to weather this first 10 minutes.
So the start of the second half is at the start of a miracle unfolding for Canberra, because that's what they need. Mark Home takes it up on the second play. 24-4. Almost a similar story to the one that unfolded between Brisbane and Manly last weekend. We've heard Gene talking about Brisbane. Let's go down to Blocker now. What's the story on the other side, mate?
Obviously, Tim Sheens is worried about the defence. He says there's too many arm grabbers in his side. But he said, look, we have created opportunities in the first half and we can score points. So let's get out there and try and score some points in the second half. We've got the ability to do so.
I know I've rapped him a couple of times in the telecast so far, Saylor, but he was given a tough job here. Line Noah Nandruku, and as I said earlier, he's matched him card for card. And right there, Julian O'Neill's kick was a shocker. And it left Nandruku on Saylor, and Saylor came out of it okay.
He did a very good job last week against Jack Elstood also. I think he's only 19 coming into the side. A lot of pressure, so he's had 2 of the fine players in the game to mark. I know Elstood got away and scored a try last week. That was the only blemish.
So Mullins, a dummy half, fires it out for Stone. Daly knocks on. It was a horror pass, really. It was beautiful for length, but it was way out in front of him. And so Brisbane go ahead. Watch it. Daly is stretching right out. Normally he would catch that, though. He's got great hands. Mark Hone has reached the halfway mark. No markers from Canberra. That's not a good sign for a team that faces a 20-point deficit. Andrew G. A great deal of animation on the face of Tim Sheens. It's Willie Kahn who's about to play the ball on the last. Lang up to the air. Belcher had a mile of time to take it, then he and Johns stand like two pugilists before Belcher plays it just inside his 20-metre line. Osborne goes away from dummy half, gains about 10 metres, make that 15. Good yards by Paul Osborne. Walters out from dummy half. Pongia is back. David Furner's gone to the sidelines.
Bit of drama for Canberra in the background as Daly puts Meninga. There's a bit of a chance here. Clyde's into this open.
One-handed pass back into the centre, scooped up by Croker, but he ran straight back into the traffic.
Yeah,
Lomax has gone, Paul.
He's off and Furner's on. Lomax has got a shoulder problem.
Meninga goes from dummy half. Clyde supports. So does Croker. Croker looks inside, throws the pass, and Canberra put it down.
Yeah, but he's thrown it off the ground. He was held in the tackle, and referee Harrigan has given the penalty to Brisbane, throwing the football off the ground. Nice work by Meninga, the good dummy, which Khan fell for, and Clyde supporting. They started well the second half here, Canberra. There, he was held there.
Sunbaking.
Julian O'Neill finding the line. 30 metres out from Brisbane's goal line. Cameron Walters clearing that second ball from the field as Mark Hone struggles his way down the ground. He's done a pretty good job, Mark Hone. It's a performance that may go unnoticed, but he's, for want of a better description, tried to make up for the absence of Glenn Lazarus.
There's been the ball's gone loose, but the Canberra players have knocked it on. I think it was Croker who knocked it on in trying to regain possession.
Yeah, he's having an unhappy afternoon. The ball jolted out. There's Osborne getting a hand to it. Really a chance there for Canberra. I think play would have been called on if Croker had come up with that.
Hancock off the left wing. Gilmeister banged into the ground by Pongia. Kerrod Walters.
Paul, I really thought last week when Brisbane had built up this kind of lead against Manly, they did just go back into a second or a third gear. There's a cut-out pass here to Willie Kahn, well contained there by Mullins and Croker. Do you think we'll see the same kind of thing here if they can get through this first 8 or 10 minutes?
Well, it's possible, but look, they know what a good side Canberra is. And that sort of tactic by Kevin Walters is a good one with a 20-point lead. They haven't got to play any fancy football. They've just got to play good, solid rugby league here, do all the right things, and they'll win very easily, but I don't think they'll slacken off at all today.
And that probably is a very good tactic, kicking for touch, just winding the clock down. They really don't want to have the play going as much as possible. Everything favours them, especially the scoreboard and the clock, and they'll take advantage of that.
Canberra swinging the ball along the line. Daly electing to run. Mandruku tried to run over the opposing defence. Brisbane come away with it. Now they come up with good field position, the Broncos. They spread the ball wide. Kevin Walters put away 38 metres out from the line. Both teams, their strength is their ability from broken play to attack you and hurt you. This is Alan Cann. 20 metres out, and here they come again. Mark Hone gets it to about 14 metres out now, crawling the last couple of metres. Kerrod Walters has lost his playmaker. Wendell Saylor turns it inside for Andrew G. 12 metres out, no gain in ground. This is the last. Langer will probably go to the air. He decides to use the football in the hands. Walters fires the pass out. Khan had to go back and recover. Gets the pass away for Hancock. Hancock is 30 metres out. Not held, now puts the kick in. He goes down the ground, puts the ball onside. Gary Belcher stands his ground. They're never beaten, are they? On every play, they want to take it to its nth degree. Why shouldn't they? Penalty to Canberra.
He's in very good form, Michael Hancock. Great game last week, and we made the point that we thought he was much more disciplined, I suppose, in his overall game. There you see a penalty earned by Ferner for Canberra, but it was good work. It was the last tackle. Hancock knew that, put the kick up, put pressure on Belcher, and led the chase.
24-4, no change to the halftime score. 7.5 minutes gone. Second stanza. Pongia. Bandaged up after a head clash with Trevor Gilmeister late in the first half. Clyde puts in a swerve and a step. Put away right on the halfway by Mark Hone and Trevor Gilmeister. They've toiled very hard, that pair. Meninga, a little jink in and then a pass out for Mullins. Mullins puts it on the ground. Mandruku can't handle. Wendell Saylor comes up with it for the Broncos.
Brett Mullins is claiming there, as you can see, that it was the Brisbane player who raked the ball out and should have been a penalty his way. The referee and touch judge saw it differently. And this is the kind of play that Canberra can't afford. They've got to, yeah, well, he was right. Wendell Saylor just took the ball out of his hands. It should have still been a Canberra ball further downfield.
Peter Ray. Langer. Saylor. Put away by Mandruku. Good battle, aren't they? Langer's kick, not a good one, but it could turn into something. Doesn't. Kevin Walters only needed a bounce. Belcher's with it now.
Trouble for Chris Johns in the back play for Brisbane. He stayed down for quite a while, limping. They had a lot of ankle problems early on, especially around representative time this year. He's on the far wing. He's pushed Wendell Saylor into the centres. You can see he's in a fair deal of discomfort.
Play by Pongia. Now they come back. Osborne. Chris Johns will be replaced by John Plath. Just what they'll do, I'm not sure. Plath was used as a centre in the match against St George, and he wasn't successful.
Well, that was a perfect example where if they'd have realised what was going on, you attack Chris Johns' wing if he's busted. And see him looking out there, the bounce face.
This is 6 more tackles. Hancock got a hand to the ball. Croker's tackle. Wesley in 42. Belcher. Hoppy. Great defence by Brisbane. Right in front of the line they are. Wesley's with it again. Still a couple of metres out. Hoppy with the long pass. Stone equally long. Daly, they've got the numbers. Surely they're going to score. Mandruku goes in for his second of the day. The Raiders down but not out. 24-8.
A mistake made by the Brisbane defence there when that kick wasn't and captured.
Catch. Yeah,
And is it a word? And 3 tackles later, they come up with a try out wide. Mick Hancock saved 3 tries here with some great defence. And then finally, the ball had to go wide. And Canberra always had the numbers on Brisbane, put them under some pressure. The Brisbane defence did everything right, but there's too many numbers out there, and Ndruku gets his second.
Yeah, bounce finally favouring Canberra, and that was from the kick. Lovely pass from Steve Stone to get the ball wide. Simple standing pass. Brett Mullins was there, he wasn't needing. Again, Ndruku getting on the outside of Saylor to score their second try. 24-8, kick to come. Signs of resurgence. And wouldn't they love this one to go over it? It will not get any tougher, this kick.
There it goes off the boot of David Ferner. Unsuccessful, 24 points to 8 the score in favour of the Broncos. 51 minutes gone. Welcome back to the football stadium. We're seeing the Canberra side coming back to pull off one of rugby league's incredible comebacks. Is that happening or not? Mal has been adjudged on the line. And that's a terrible mistake. First play. There's no doubt about it, that big arm is touching the sideline. There's even a suggestion of a little bit of indentation in the line. Brisbane now. 25 metres out, Khan. Not a lot of opportunities for the winger come centre. Langer calls for it back on a very wide blind side. He's brought down. 15 out. Home. A try by Canberra to inspire the Broncos to lift themselves back into that top gear. Played by Andrew G. Kevin Walters across. Johns seems to be running freely. Has the legs taken from under him by Meninga. They're 15 out as it comes back to Langer on the left. Grubbing kick through, no chasers. Lack of communication for Brisbane. Hoppy takes it out beyond the 10-metre line. Bradley Clyde. Wesley. Ooh, Stone's pass to Daly had a question mark on it. Belcher tries to get in between the defence. Stone. Daly. Daly's kick coming off the outside edge of the boot. It did not go where he wanted it. O'Neill. Slammed to the ground. 35 out from his own line. Brisbane 24-8. Hancock. 4 of them going in to put him away. Kevin Walters. Plath is on. Hone is off. Now, around the back, the pass for Johns, and Johns, an ankle-tapping tackle by Nandruku, who comes again to put him away. Langer. Kevin Walters off. Take by Daly.
Great reflexes there. Almost didn't have time to react as Canberra immediately go wide. Gary Belcher trying to put the step on. Brett Mullins cleaned up by John Platt.
This was the catch by Daly. Wesley. David Vernon.
David Ferner may have missed his first tackle when he came into the game, but he really has made a difference to this Canberra outfit. Very elusive in running the ball, and again Canberra going wide. A short pass to Mullins, back inside to Hoppy. He can't hold. Khan's away.
Rounded up by Stone. The pass inside, looking for a Bronco, finds Gary Belcher. Croker. Crowd starting to come back to life now as Canberra push to the left. Meninga bursts onto a Daly pass. Steve Walters away from Ryan. Dummies for Daly. Pushes away from another. Looks to stand and offload, which he does. Daly. 5 metres out. Finds Nandruku. That's number 3. Canberra coming back now. Oh, boy.
They're a champion side. They're fighting back. This will be one of the greatest comebacks of all time. The Druker gets his 3rd. There's some pretty ordinary defence here by Brisbane. Big hole for Mal to run into. That's a good tackle by O'Neill. But then what happened here that the Brisbane defence did not put the Raiders on the ground. Plenty of standing and passing. Steve Wallace beats his brother. And then Daly finds himself into a big hole. And from there, see, not putting him on the ground, the Druko on the charge, try time.
Well, what about Steve Wallace? He ran 2 yards and beat 8 players, but he kept the ball alive, as did Meninga there. This is Steve Wallace's effort, going back the blind side, trying to open something up. I thought when Laurie Daly got this football, he'd have given it to Meninga on his outside, but it was selective. He went back the other way. Meninga was probably held, and now Druko coming at speed. A big collision, and an important kick here for Ferner.
I think is one of the adjectives that Fatty might have chosen to describe it. Brisbane 24, Canberra 12, 57 gone. Back at the semi-final, the sudden death semi-final for this weekend, 24-12. It seemed like Canberra were gone after just 20 minutes of the game, 24-4 at half-time. They're back to 24-12. They're starting to claw back into the game. Steve Roach.
And hasn't it made a difference since Laurie Daly and Mal Meninga have decided to run? And I don't know if you can notice that the crowd getting right behind Canberra. They don't want these Broncos in the grand final.
Daly dummies once, runs, passes, Stone, handoff, Belcher inside. That looks like David Boyle, I think.
Yes, it is in 41. They go the left.
Stone for Daly. Daly to the 20-metre line. Here's the call from Belcher on the inside. He in turn finds Stone. Stone off for Ferner. Ferner can't handle, and Brisbane come up with it.
Well, they had to keep, it was the last tackle, they had to try and keep the ball alive. Unfortunately, it went to ground, but a few chinks starting to appear in this Brisbane defence. And as Steve Roach pointed out, Laurie Daly starting to run and take them on and making some busts.
Hancock.
Oh, big tackle, David Ferner. I'm real happy about it, Michael Hancock.
Yeah, and he's goosed himself again, Nick Hancock. You know, for the last few weeks, now he said something to the referee, an extra 10 metres, and they'll take a quick tackle or they take a shot at goal. Referee Harrigan talking to Nick Hancock. You know, he's been really good in his play the last few weeks. None of this stupid stuff, but he's produced one just there.
Well, he's shown what the penalty was for. It was for walking off the mark as Canberra take the quick tap. Ferner falls over.
So, Stone it is, sending Wesley back into where the ball was played. Canberra 10 metres out from the line. Trailing 24-12. This is their third tackle. Croker. To the blind side goes Boyle. Turns. Meninga's with the ball. Throws the long pass. Now they've got the numbers. Belcher turns it back for Daly. Daly goes through. Creamed out of the game beautifully there by Julian O'Neill, but Nandroko comes again. Belcher's with the ball. 3 metres out, this is the last.
Meninga's called for it on the right. They look like they'll run it again. Daly to first receiver.
Daly puts the grubber through for himself, and the ball goes too deep. So back to the 20-metre line for the restart.
Oh, the worst possible play there. The play would have been okay if they had got another set of 6 from the line drop out. They had a big line to the right. You could see them all out there. Meninga had called for it. Too much weight on the ball. That's a big play in this second half after 22 minutes.
Yeah, they're getting a roll on in possession too, Canberra. Lots of ball. Brisbane making too many mistakes. And G. Miles, how do you see it?
Well, mate, I think the mistakes that they're making, they're not locking the ball up. They did it so well last week against St George, and that went a long way towards their success. So what they've got to do is get back to the basics, which made them so successful.
Gilmeister using John Plath. Only a lightweight in the forward line. And Canberra went very close to putting him over the sideline. Talking of the sideline, Steve Roach.
Yeah, I've got to give a rap to young David Wesley has come on. He's running the ball with plenty of guts now. At least he's running straight and making them yards in the middle of the ruck. So Daly and Meninga can operate out wide.
Now Langer continues this wrap out to the right. Wendell Saylor, he puts it down. Harrigan was quite happy to accept that it went backwards, but it goes into touch. So Canberra will have the loose head in the feed, 40 metres away from the Brisbane line. This is what happened. Came off the hand of Saylor and then again off his hands into touch. Daly with the ball in his hands is proving very dangerous. This is the Laurie Daly that people have rated as one of the outstanding players, if not the best in the world. The Laurie Daly with the ball in his hands that runs it at you. 1 minute he's there, the next minute he's not. Walters, David Boyle. 30 metres out from the line. Stone shows it to Pongia, pushes it out for Furner. Furner not held, got away from Kevin Walters. Finds Steve Walters. Now it's Quentin Pongia. Pongia, 11 metres out from the line. Canberra coming back. 24 to 4, it's 24 to 12. Daly turns it inside. Meninga gets it to Stone. Stone's pass is ill-directed. It's been scooped away by Wesley. Furner goes back to the 10-metre line. Beats a couple of tackles. Pulled down now. 9 metres out. That's tackle number 5. The Raiders to the left. Stone. Daly drops it onto the foot again, and it's come down for Brisbane.
Well, Daly has come up with a couple of poor efforts down that end of the field in the last 5 minutes. I don't even think he got his foot to the ball to kick it there. Here he comes. It is the last tackle. Langer put pressure on. He came up with the ball. A cheap handover again.
The Brisbane are really falling apart here. Their defence is under a heap of pressure, but in attack, I don't think they've completed a set of 6 or maybe once in this half.
Langer, Kevin Walters, Chris Johns, turns it back inside. Support play by Kevin Walters. The same for Julian O'Neill. Comes out the other side, tries to gallop away from Stone. Pulled down 25 metres out from the line. Now they're wide to the left and Langer's calling for it, but it's a penalty and the sin bin. A penalty to the Broncos and the sin bin. David Boyle it is.
Yeah, David Boyle now. They lead by 12, Brisbane here. You would think the intelligent play would be to go for goal, to put them 14 clear. It is within kicking distance, and O'Neill, it looks like to be the decision. But that's got to take all the momentum away. David Boyle in 41, off to the sin bin. A kick that might put them 14 clear. This could be the key play of the entire match.
Just wondering, Rabs, why doesn't the sin bin start until the player actually gets into the tunnel? Is that right?
That's when the clock is supposed to be started, you're saying?
Yeah.
I was of that impression too, but...
And David Boyle's actually gone off on the other side of the park, so
yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, the sin bin, the 10 minutes will not start until Boyle walks right around the field and gets in the tunnel.
Which could be another 10 minutes.
That
the
doesn't...
way he's going.
Yeah, the point you're making is the clock doesn't stop. Once he's off the field, referee Harrigan starts the clock again. And Boyle is on a leisurely walk back to the sin bin.
The two crocodiles who have the 10 minutes for the sin bin, they won't start until he gets there. There he is. It's a very handy 2 points too for Brisbane, because, what is it, 12 points, 2 converted tries behind. The 14-point buffer would be a beauty.
(24-12). Julian O'Neill, an impeccable record today. 4 from 4. Success rate in the mid-70s. In flight, just wide.
Yeah, did Croker get a touch there? It stays 24-12, so they're still within striking distance.
No, he sent them out to the 20-metre line for the drop kick restart. Hancock. Clamped on by Mullins. block, you heard Paul talking about the sin bin and when the clock actually starts for a player.
Yeah, we just talked to the sin bin attendant, and he told us it starts as soon as the infringement happens, so it would have started by the time he walked around there. He'd be 3 minutes old.
Oh, well, I'll goose himself.
Not necessarily.
And not for the first time.
Gilmeister.
Thanks for support, boys.
Langer. Kevin Walters. Johns angling back into the centre, and he wished he hadn't have now.
Yeah,
David Furner waiting.
He has made a difference, hasn't he, David Furner? He really has sparked them, especially in attack. That was a great front-on tackle there as Langer drives the ball deep into the corner. Mandruka will have a little bit of work to do here. It's not going to go out. Yes, it is. Game of inches.
It's an interesting comment you make about David Furner. If they do come back again next weekend, Canberra, it's looking like they won't. But if they do, I wonder will they put him in the run-on side, because his effort last week and again today has acted as a spark, as an inspiration to Canberra. Weston. Steve Walters flicking it out the back. Everything Canberra does has desperation written across it. And a penalty goes to Canberra now.
That's a big play for Canberra again. It was the fourth tackle. They weren't going anywhere. Peter Ryan, the man spoken to about continuing on with the tackle. Gerard Walters was involved there. The referee obviously ruling that he called held.
So can the Raiders, with 12 men, continue their climb back? That run of Pongi was very emphatic. Wesley. High rate of involvement in the game, Wesley. Mandruku, 3 tries. 21 for the year now. Incredible what this Fijian has done for himself in Canberra. You know, I guess his country. Stone. Daly. Shows it to Mullen, shows it to Meninga, keeps going. Mandruku sets the compass, looks for number 4, pulled down 7 out. This is the last. Meninga came off Langer.
Done some great clean-up work, Alan Langer, on those last couple of kicks, but they haven't been well executed by Canberra. They really needed to get another set of 6 back, and that means that they had to get the ball into the in-goal area and have it forced by the Brisbane side. On that occasion, Langer, 9 metres out from his own line, got possession.
John Plath on the 20-metre line. Mark Hone. Saints and Canterbury tomorrow. A passage straight to the grand final, waiting for the winner. A passage out of the 93 competition for the loser here today. Increasingly, it looks like Canberra at half-time, it was almost a fait accompli. They have miraculously wriggled their way back to 24 to 12. 2 converted tries, that's what they need. But the clock, that looks like their biggest enemy now, with only 12 players. We're 10 minutes from full time. Played by David Furner. Stone. Mullins had to leap high to take an ordinary pass. Did well with his evasive work. Gerard Walters went high. They brought a roar from the crowd, and the penalty goes to Canberra. Daly hurries his kick. Crowd 33,893.
Yeah, and that's bad play from Daly again. They've still got 10 minutes. You cannot let your urgency override your technique, and he cost his side there another 10 metres.
Westley, they're in the centre. They're 15 out. They come to a very wide blindside. Steve Walters had to try and clean up the mistake. That's not forward. The bounce was, but the pass wasn't. And 6 more tackles has been ruled. So they go back to the drawing board and start it again. Belcher, oh, great pass! Belcher's pass was magnificent. Coker plays it. Long ball for Steve Walters. Mullins. Sean Hoppy. Steve Walters. Flicks it out the back. Langer's sweating on it. Langer put away 10 metres out.
And Canberra trying desperation plays there. Stevie Wallace had a pretty good game around the rucks, but he flicked one out there, and Alan Langer, still I talked about him doing a lot of clean-up work. He was at it again.
Alan Can being escorted from the field, I notice.
What about this for class here, Ray? Gary Belcher makes the bust up the middle, around the corner to Jason Croker. That's just vintage play from the fullback.
And of course, are we seeing Badge in the Canberra jumper for the very last time?
Or in any jumper for that matter, which, well, on what we've seen the second half of this season, he's not just a first-grade player, he is an elite first-grade player and should not be lost to the game.
Furner. Druku has come right across from the left wing. I thought he was going to go to dummy half. Steve Wallace pushes him away and Meninga runs. Mullins has put it down. John Plath to play it. 7.5 minutes out. Hancock steps off his right foot, brushes away from the tackle of David Furner, then on for Kevin Walters, now for Alan Langer, and it goes in front of Wendell Saylor.
There's a big chance for Brisbane there to finally wrap this game up, but they've let it go. The last pass gone astray. Big run by Michael Hancock, bootless and all. Away he goes. He lost a plate there, and Kevy Walters draws and passes Alan Langer into the gap with that pass there.
It's proving quite a hoodoo, that corner. David Boyle waiting to come out of the sin bin. Pongia.
I think he's been their best player, Pongia. Every time he's got the football, he's made 10 to 12 metres. He's really done a lot of work.
Well, to squeeze David Furner into a starting lineup, and it doesn't seem as though this is going to matter. Where would you put him? Or how would you get him there? Belcher, Osborne, Meninga, Mullins, Hoppy, right on the halfway mark. Now the last. Stone, 15-metre pass for Daly. And then a 20-metre pass out to Nandruku. That's how quickly they can get from one side of the park to the other. And they can do it even quicker than that with Ricky Stewart in the side. Langer put down by Nandruku. Julian O'Neill. They put it together. Johns, there seemed a question mark on him earlier that he might not finish the game. He seems to be running freely. So that's good news for Wayne Bennett. Langer. Kerrod Walters. Saylor. Taken by Daly. 41 goes back out of the bin. That's David Boyle. So Canberra's back to 13 players now as Langer stabs it into the corner. It bounces obligingly over the head of Noah. 24-12. There's only 6 minutes to go, if that. Daly just inside their own 20-metre line. One-handed take by Meninga. Belcher inside for Mullins. Tidied their defence up. They went missing there for a while. They were letting Canberra run with the football. They weren't shutting it down. Stone. Hoppy. Defence converges. He puts it into the centre of the ground. Julian O'Neill comes away and goes over the halfway line. Good run. Another 25 metres by the young fullback. Langer, Walters, Johns angling back into the centre. Ran off the shoulder of Croker and put down. 40 metres out now. No tries in the second half for Brisbane. No points for Brisbane. 8 points for Canberra, so I suppose that's some consolation. They've won the second half, but as I said earlier, there is no tomorrow. As far as this Winfield Cup is concerned for the loser.
When you look at the scoreboard, Ray, 4 tries to 3. The good goal kicking of O'Neill's kept Brisbane well in front.
Oh, look at this, Fatty! Langer, he grubs it into the end goal, and Walters is there to snatch a try.
And that's the luck they've had all day, Brisbane. Canberra have tried about 4,000 of those grubbers. None of them have come off. We see one by Alfie. And, out of nothing.
He has great ability to get it into that little space in behind there, doesn't he? He was taken out of the play by Ferner. Gary Belcher, not a good effort there on Kevin Walters. But once the ball gets into ground, in behind that area there, it really is, an opportunity for the attacking side to come up with the bounce, and Kevin Walters did exactly that.
Kevin Walters, he gets the try, six for the year. And that ball did exactly what Langer would have been hoping for. It gave the bounce, the luck to his side. And as he drew the attention to him, Walters got the required bounce, and that has given Brisbane their first try in the second half and 5 tries for the match. Julian O'Neill, 4 out of 5. This is probably his easiest kick of the day. Academic. 30 points to 12. 77 minutes gone in the sudden death semi-final for this weekend.
A lot of times today we've mentioned the word luck and the ball bouncing the right way. The other words for that are also talent, skill, vision, ability. Walters putting himself in the position to take advantage of the right bounce. As we said earlier, you make your own luck in this game, but you have to have the necessary vision and skill to carry that out. And Brisbane have that in abundance.
Home, you may not have noticed it, but he almost left himself in a situation for a voluntary tackle there. And had Canberra have just left him there, I'm sure Harrigan would have given the penalty.
He's had a great game, Mark Kane, along with Can and Ryan up in the forwards. Great take there by Peter Ryan.
Andrew G as well still. He came on after Lazarus went off, so some pressure on G, and he's performed like he's a state of origin player. I think he's played international football on the New Guinea tour, so he's done his job as well.
Well, all those players, their work rate's been outstanding. They know that they've got tremendous ability and strike power out wide in the back line, but they have to set the platform, and they do that through hard work. Really, it's been those players for mine that have set up this win. It's their hard work in the middle of the rucks, taking the ball forward, the hard yards, and getting them out of their own danger area when required.
Langer just going through another play that might be used somewhere down the track between now and the end of this competition, because they are going to be around for another week, whether it be Canterbury or whether it be St George that they meet next Sunday. That remains to be seen. Again, we've seen the two Brisbane Broncos in this match. They can be in top gear 1 minute, cruising, and then they can be apparently in trouble. The pass goes behind Noah Nandruku. Wendell Saylor in pursuit, but he needn't worry because Harrigan has called it back. Just seconds remaining. There's the siren. It's over for Canberra in 1993. They finally succumbed to the loss of Ricky Stewart, the player of the year. And with his demise, eventually came the demise of the Raiders. Brisbane, though, they go on. There he is, the medalist, the players' player, the Dally M player, the Rothmans medalist. And without him, Canberra have made their exit. But for Brisbane, they carry on. They will carry on to defend the premiership that they won last year. devastating here for a period of 5 minutes in the first half today. And eventually they piled on 5 tries in the match. And Druku picked up a treble. The 3 brothers Walters, they leave in unison. Steve can watch the remainder of the Broncos with his parents. The other 2 will duel on. 5 tries to 3, comprehensive for Brisbane. Canberra gave us a little bit of life in the second half. We thought they might have been coming back to perform a miracle. 30-12 then. Peter and Paul will be with you in just a moment.
Despite a valiant second half effort from the Canberra side, the Brisbane Broncos, the defending premiers, move through to next week's final, courtesy of a 30-12 win today. And what, again, a very good performance, just showing great ability in getting over the try line. But Paul Vorton, Canberra must really rue their first half performance. The second half, they really look like a side that could match it with this Bronco outfit.
Yeah, Pete, they staged a mini fight back there in the second half, but it wasn't good enough. Brisbane, I don't think they slackened off. I think it was more the fact that Canberra lifted. Nadruko out in the wing played pretty well the second half. Daly got into the action. When he decided to run, they looked fairly good.
Plenty of points scored again by this Brisbane side. They have got plenty of strike power out there and a lot of backs involved. Michael Hancock, Saylor, Peter Ryan, who had a fine game today, got a try. O'Neill and Kevin Walter scored that last one. Julian O'Neill, a great performance with the boot, 5 from 6. Noah Nandruku, the sole try scorer for Canberra, but he did get 3, and that must be fairly tough. Not many players score 3 tries in a losing side. And Ferner, no successes with the boot, and that was a fairly telling aspect as well. But the fact if they could have converted those tries, another 6 points closer, we come down to maybe a 6-point game in the last 10 minutes.
Well, not only that, Pete, but you remember the 2 tries they bombed in the first half. If they get on the scoreboard with those tries, could have been a lot closer game.
Well, they had their chances, Canberra, but Brisbane again just dominant out there this afternoon. An ominous sign for both Canterbury and St George, who would have sat back with interest watching this game. Plenty of good performances. We thought the platform was set up front, and our man of the match is now with Gene Miles.
Well, thanks, Del. Our MMI man of the match today is Brisbane's hard-working front row, Mark Cohn. Mark, Canberra threw everything at you very early in the match.
Yeah, they came out and they were playing really strongly, and we stuck to our guns, and fortunately we didn't make many mistakes in the first part of the game there, and that enabled us to sort of wear them down. We got a couple of quick tries, and we got our tails up, which certainly helped us.
Probably the key to your success, you mentioned you didn't make a mistake for that first 25 minutes. You just hung in there, and eventually you got over the try line.
Yeah, that's right. Once we sort of broke their back a little bit with that first try, we got a couple in succession, and I think that's when we won the game. I think someone forgot to tell them that at half time. They came back very strong in the second half, and it was all hands to the grindstone there. But we've managed to overcome them today.
Brisbane forwards handle the extra responsibility, seeing that Glenn Lazarus only lasted for 5 minutes.
Yeah, actually, I know myself. I felt a little bit down when I saw him leaving the field. I thought he was 100%, and I was very surprised when he went off after 5 minutes. So yeah, I think we did a good job without Lazo. He's certainly a player you like to have in your team, but we got the job done today, so it was important.
Well, mate, $1,000 coming your way from the MMI people. Congratulations.
Thanks, Gino. Thanks, MMI.
Very underrated player is Mark Cohn in this Brisbane lineup, and as he pointed out, a lot of work needed to be done with Glenn Lazarus leaving the field after 5 minutes. He handled it in style in a season that Mark Cohn burst onto the representative scene. Really an unsung hero in this Brisbane side.
He's had a great year, Honey, and he does his work without getting noticed too much. I think he made something like 29 tackles, 20 hit-ups today. In anyone's language, that's a great front rowers game.
Well, talking of statistics, these are the statistics for the 80 minutes out there, and probably the big one is, of course, the changeover in possession that Canberra gave away courtesy of handling errors. Double the Brisbane effort there, 7 down the bottom against 15 for Canberra. They really did have enough ball, I thought, Paul, Canberra, to win this game. I made a point throughout the match that they had time. They needed to move the football, but not in silly situations, and at times I thought they were guilty of that.
They were fairly impatient in some stages, Pete, but those stats there, the missed tackles for Brisbane, at half-time Brisbane's had something like 8 to 10 missed tackles. Bennett wouldn't be happy with that. We saw them drop off a lot of defence in that second half when Canberra started to throw the ball around. They refused to put the man on the ground. That's why Canberra got back into the match.
Well, they had some problems out there, the Canberra Raiders, making an untimely exit out of this competition, and hopefully that won't be the case for one of their great players over the last couple of years. Gary Belcher in the fullback position again was outstanding. There are talks that he will be leaving the Canberra club. He's now with Steve Roach.
Yeah, well, Gary, they just got to a good start, 24 points to 4. It's just too much in the first half, wasn't it?
Yeah, Block, I think we did enough to win the game. We bombed a few tries. You know, unfortunately, we missed those tackles early and they got away to a great start, but I thought we still did enough to win. It was just, we didn't finish well enough.
Yeah, Gary, it was great to see the crowd get behind you in the second half. I don't think they want to see the Brisbane Broncos there again.
I think they wanted to see a good game, you know, and we made it into a good game by trying to come back, and I thought we played very well.
In the first half, plenty of try-scoring opportunities. You had the numbers there on the right-hand side on at least three times that I could count, but just didn't happen.
Yeah, probably should have been a different scoreline at half-time, but that's how it goes. They're a great side. I wouldn't be surprised if they went on with it, but as we found out, Canterbury and St George can play pretty good footy as well.
Yeah, Gary's been plenty of talk about you retiring next year. What's the story so far?
Still don't know, Block. I'll make the mind up in the next few weeks. So I haven't made any decision.
Well, it would be a big loss if we did lose you to the game, mate. You've been a great ambassador for the game, and congratulations.
You know how it is, mate. You've got to move on.
Yeah, well, hopefully that decision will see Gary Belcher again turn out in the Canberra Raiders colours. I don't want to get into a too deep a meaningful conversation here, Paul. We never do that. But that is, to me, the flaw in the salary cap is that it can force players like Belcher out of the game. There's got to be some modification made to accommodate those kind of players.
You would think so, Pete. Gary's been down in Canberra now for about 8 years. That's long enough for me to be classed as practically a local junior, even though he comes from Queensland. That allows, if you take him out of the salary cap situation, maybe half his salary or throw half of it in, allows you to bring the young kids along, and you don't lose a bloke like Gary Belcher, who at 31 still plenty of great football ahead of him, as we saw today.
Yeah, he's getting towards the end of his career, but for Brisbane, one player who looks like he's going to have a long career is their replacement player, Peter Ryan. Came in, was very strong, did a great job out there as a young player, put into a pretty tough position. He's now talking with Gene Miles.
Well, Pete, only your third start in the competition today, and you certainly made it look easy, really.
I don't know about that, Gino, but we just got out there and it was how much we really wanted to do it, I suppose, and we did all the work and paid off, I suppose.
Yeah, losing Glenn Lazarus so early in the match, it threw a lot more responsibility back on you forwards, really.
Well, I actually didn't even see him go off, and then having a look around for him and he wasn't there, so, I mean, Gigi came on and did a superb job. I mean, the guy just does so much work. We were just lucky to have someone like him on the sideline.
Number 13 shirt getting over for a try also today?
Yeah, it was good to get a try. I mean, I don't get them very often, but when they do, they're nice.
So you're looking forward to next week? Any preference who you'd like to play?
Mate, I don't care who we play. I mean, they're all games. I mean, they're all going to be hard from now on, so I'm just looking forward to playing, mate.
Well, mate, congratulations. You've done very well.
Thanks, team.
Plenty of depth in the Brisbane camp. But funny, I was talking to Terry Madison earlier on. He believes that he may well be back for the grand final if Brisbane do get through. They'll have their fingers crossed, I imagine, that the Brisbane fans, but a ready-made replacement in Peter Ryan. More rugby league coming from the Sydney Football Stadium in just a moment. An ominous sign for both St George and Canterbury, who go around to tomorrow's major semi-final, is the form of the Brisbane Broncos, who won today's game 30 points to 12 over Canberra. And I guess an ominous sign also is the fact that we mentioned earlier that Steve Renouf may be back for the grand final if the Broncos do happen to get that far. He's down on the sideline with Gene Miles, who I guess will ask him that question exactly.
Yes, Sterlo. Well, Steve, there's a vicious rumour going around the Brisbane dressing room that you could be back a little bit earlier than first expected.
Well, Dean, I've been keeping up the training all week, and since I've done it, so that's been a good thing. But we don't know yet. We just got to wait and see. Make a decision later on in the week. You haven't
done any physical drills, obviously.
No, none actually with the tackling or any impact. So, but I've had all the physical conditioning. That's kept me in rate with the other players.
Steve, what is the main danger with the injury? Is it getting another knock on the jaw? I guess psychologically it's fairly tough too, going in as hard, knowing that another knock could lead to further complications.
Yeah, well, still, I mean, it's only it's going to be like do or die if I do get a run. So I'll just go for broke if I do happen to get a run. I mean, the only thing it's got to be a fair hit. So I just got to go with it.
Yeah, Steve, the game tomorrow, you've got Canterbury up against St George, two fine sets of centres, Bradley and Coyne for Saints, and McCracken and Connolly for Canterbury. How do you rate those four?
Well, mate, they're top-class players, I like Corny, they are great players, and you've got two international centres playing for Canterbury, so I reckon it'll be a good competition out there in the centres tomorrow.
Who do you think will win the match between Canterbury and Saints?
Well, mate, tomorrow, I'd lean towards Canterbury. If they can keep the form up they had before they had the break, I think they'll do St George no worries.
And Steve, Willie Kahn, I thought he was a little bit quiet out in the centres today. How did you see his match?
Oh, he had a sound match. He didn't do anything wrong. I mean, it was one of those matches, for Willie, so nothing really came his way. But you know, to other guys' credit, they all chipped in, and they did the job.
And I guess that's going to be the case from now on, Steve, with the fact that so many injuries are really coming in. Lazarus off after 5 minutes, a real test of depth, but probably an area that Brisbane are fairly well served in.
Well, that's right. You know, we showed that today. I mean, Lazo come off early in the match, and Andrew G, I think the team actually picked up after he come on, so that was a good sign.
And what kind of percentage, if you had to put it on, your chances of playing in the grand final? You know, are you a strong chance, or is it something that really needs to accelerate over the next week or 10 days?
Well, mate, that gives, you know, if we do happen to make the grand final, which I think we will, that gives me an extra couple of weeks, and that's usually the period that the doctors give you for the healing process. So, you know, things are looking good so far.
Can you chew on a steak yet?
Hey, no,
No steak?
no, not yet, Fatty. All the soft meats, but unfortunately not a steak yet.
And mate, just about the future for Steve Renouf, how long are you on contract with the Brisbane side?
Well, mate, I'm contracted to the end of 94, so you know, things have been going okay, so I'll just have to wait and see.
Mate, we wish you all the best. I know that not only Brisbane supporters but all rugby league fans are hoping that you will get back for the grand final. Good luck with that, and we look forward to seeing you playing once again.
Yeah, thanks, Stello, and thanks, Fatty.
Thanks for your time. Footy tab today, a big scoreline, 30-12 in favour of the Brisbane side. A fairly good dividend, $164.85. Hopefully you did get that right score. And tomorrow, the major semi-final, the winner of this game to go straight into the grand final, Canterbury Bankstown up against St George. That's coming to you tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Check your local guides for that one. Should be a great game. And Fatty, almost written off in many quarters, the Canterbury side. They're the minor premiers, and people sort of basically have St George already through.
I don't, Peter. I think Canterbury will win the match, and I think they'll do it. Look, both sides have got very tough packs of forwards. This match will actually be on at 5:30 tomorrow on the telly. Very tough packs of forwards, right? But I think Canterbury have got an advantage in the fact they've got Lamb, McCracken and Connolly all firing up in really good form. And that's not to say that St George haven't. Smith and those other two centres, Coyne and Bradley, they're going all right too, but I think if they get some combination going, those particular three, Lamb, McCracken, Connolly, Canterbury will win the match.
Yeah, I think it's not a coincidence that both times that St George have beaten Canterbury, McCracken hasn't been there, broken shy back. Tomorrow it is 5:30, the replay, and we look forward to bringing you that game. St George and Canterbury coming out, the winner of that going into the grand final. Until then, now on behalf of the entire Wide World of Sports Rugby League team, we wish you a very good night.